Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Ask Us Anything. It's been a really eventful week. We've got lots of news. I guess one of the big items of news is, let's go straight to Tesla's share price. Last night, our time, they announced a capital raise of $5 billion with something like a minuscule 0.8% dilution. I think that's right, Pete?
Spot on, yep.
Cool, and it's an awesome, the funny thing was at the start of trade or early trading or shortly after the announcement, which was that before trading, Pete? I presume?
No, yeah, I thought it was after market closed last night.
Okay.
Sorry, early this morning, which would have been after the market closed for them.
Right, because interestingly enough, for those that are watching the share price, the price actually came off a little bit last night, which we're sort of being a little bit disappointed about, but it actually reached a new high, all-time high close. I think that's right, of 649-ish.
I thought it touched about 660 or so.
Oh yes, but the close, I think it closed at about
642, yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Sorry, 649.88 to be precise.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then of course, then Tesla announced their $5 billion capital raise, which literally is the best time to do it. It's a very smart strategy.
Absolutely.
Tesla are going to have so much cash on their balance sheet that they really will be able to afford to accelerate their spending process, albeit at perhaps a less efficient rate of spending, because as you try and spend more and more money to get more and more things done, you sometimes have to pay for extra engineers that might cost a bit more, but it all bodes extraordinarily well for Tesla. It's a really positive move. I believe last week there was a famous short seller that said something along the lines of, well, maybe Tesla should try and issue, was it $100 billion of cap, or 25% of their share issue?
Yeah, it was a ridiculous statement. It was from the guy that's made himself famous for shorting the market during the GFC. Is it Mike Burry?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Yeah. So, and he's short Tesla. So
he was sort of implying that, you know what, this is the only opportunity Tesla has to get a shit ton of money, excuse the French, and basically then sort of bolster themselves up before they go on the steady decline of going broke. Basically, according to his thesis, might as well make hay while the sun shines. Except the thing is that Tesla's not even at the start of spring. It's basically winter, and they've sown the seeds, and they haven't even poked out of the ground yet. In fact, they actually are poking out of the ground at Giga Shanghai, almost completed, with Model Ys, prototype Model Ys being built and tested. Giga Berlin, where there's tremendous progress, and even Giga Texas, where they are getting the, I presume it's the Giga, well, it's probably the Cybertruck stamping press area done, and some
the semi,
yeah, or possibly for the semi. Yes, yeah, indeed. So just quickly, I've just noticed that TB, welcome. We've not seen you here before, so welcome if you're here for the first time.
Hi guys, yeah, my name's Troy.
Welcome, Troy. And how do you find us? Have you got a car on order, or you've bought a car?
I have a Model 3. I've had it since September last year.
Fantastic.
So one of
details?
the very first few, I think, that were delivered in West Australia.
Did you have the 12-volt thing happening to you just quietly?
Not that I'm aware of.
Cool.
I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't just suddenly.
Apologies, forget I said that. It was a very short issue on a very small batch of cars, and it's all good. So forget I said that. So color?
Blue.
Cool. SR, LR, performance?
Performance.
Awesome.
Yeah. FSD? Did you get FSD?
No FSD. I can't justify the price at the moment, and I quite enjoy driving the vehicle. Not that I used to like driving any other vehicle, but I quite enjoy driving my Tesla. Yeah.
even straight up autopilot is still awesome and relaxing.
It is very awesome. Yes, we did do a big southwest trip last weekend, and it was just so amazing just to put it in autopilot almost 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's the magic that luckily happens to all people who buy a Tesla these days. It's included in the package for free, and it's just awesome.
Yeah. I was just a bit surprised that I didn't realize that the referrals run out after 6 months. So I thought I was doing some free supercharging, and then got a bill.
Right. Pro tip for supercharging at Eaton is, if you're paying for it, which I think is at 52 or 53 cents a kilowatt hour, Treendale, which is the ChargeFox/RAC ultra fast DC charger, it's about 3 kilometers north of Eaton, is slightly cheaper. I think, Rob, is that 42 cents or 45 cents a unit roughly?
Yeah, Brian's used it. Brian, you've used it?
Brian, you're on mute.
Yeah, no, we haven't used that yet. No, we drove past it before it was commissioned.
Right, cool. I'm just quickly looking to see, and the answer is 40 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's actually 12 cents cheaper. So it's great value. And in a Model 3 performance, you'll actually get a faster rate of charge than at Eaton. So there's a double bonus. If you're going down south again, you can use Treendale. It's just outside of Eaton. And a pro tip, if you're coming down from Perth, is to navigate to Eaton, the supercharger, because what your car then does is it preconditions its battery. And if it's a longer trip, what it mostly will do is actually deliberately restrict the cooling of the battery, so it gets up to a nice warm temperature, ready to accept a high charge. But then what you do is you just divert and go to Treendale instead. With all due respect to Tesla, but the point is there's a price signal at the moment, and for as long as that price signal lasts, and the fact you get a faster rate of charge, that's a good thing to do. And I guess altruistically, that also means that there are more places available at Eaton for other cars that don't do that. If you've run out of referral credits or referral miles or kilometers for supercharging. So that's a little pro tip there.
I'm surprised at how early the preconditioning commenced. Like the little notification came up.
Yep.
I'm not sure, maybe about 20 minutes prior to arriving at Eaton, which I was quite surprised.
Yep. Bearing in mind that it often, depending on conditions, won't actually actively heat and waste battery energy. But what it will do, like I said before, is actually deliberately restrict airflow in the incoming dampers. So it actually deliberately sort of allows your temperature to rise up, your battery to rise up in temperature, whereas ordinarily it would sort of generally do its best to keep it as cool as it sort of could. So that's just a technique that the car uses. Now, if it was, if you're in Norway or, it's a severe winter, then it will actually deliberately use a bit of energy to, in the Model 3s, in the current version Model 3's case, resistively effectively heat the battery using the battery pack and the cooling system. It'll only do that if it's actually really, really cold. Otherwise, even though the notification is there, it's merely that the car is deliberately trying to avoid cooling the battery excessively to be ready to charge. But like I said, Treendale is just ahead. So a great trick is navigate to Eaton. You can even, when you're just near Treendale, just stop navigating and just go to Treendale. And the point is the battery will already be warmed up nicely, and not much will happen to it in a couple of Ks from Treendale. And it's certainly very satisfying. I think your car may get as much as about 200 kilowatts at Treendale, whereas of course, I think in Eaton, it'll get about 130-ish max. Actually, do you know what you got? What performance you got in charging?
Yeah, I don't think we got. and I was the only one there. I don't think it went over 100. It was sort of hovering around about the 90. But I'll have to admit, I did go to the Hungry Jack's to grab a burger.
You might have missed it because the charging is, as you know, pretty quick, and it's awesome that it doesn't take long. It really doesn't.
The clean up, right, yeah.
It's definitely awesome. Like everyone worried about, range anxiety and all, the time taken. I mean, you've got to go to the toilet and, grab something to eat. So certainly it doesn't take any extra time to have an EV.
Absolutely. And of course, if you are going to Albany, it now is a lot simpler because you can basically charge at the fast DC charger at Kojonup, which is a 50 kilowatt tritium charger. And of course, so that means from Perth, you can go straight to Kojonup and then onwards to Albany. So that's if you go in the inland route. But obviously, and the other bit of news that you may not be aware of is that we're fairly confident that basically TOCWA came up with a fix for the RAC Electric Highway Control CCS charging issue. And we believe that that fix has been deployed to the vast majority of stations on the RAC Electric Highway, which if you have a look on the map there, if I just turn off a couple of items, basically mostly these chargers here. Katanning is a tritium, so that's absolutely compatible. Kojonup is a tritium, again, completely compatible. Lake Grace, great achievement by the Australian Electric Vehicle Association and donors. That was a crowd-funded charger. And we've art the River, which was basically established by John Edwards on his own, with his own cash, basically. That is a tritium charger as well. That's on a generator, which is being converted to waste vegetable oil. You've also got Collie is a 50 kilowatt tritium, so completely compatible. And then we believe that the Harvey, Mandurah, soon Bridgetown, Augusta, I think Margaret River may be getting fixed. Dunsborough and Bustleton RAC Electric Highway chargers will be working now with Model 3s and other new CCS-based S's and X's, and also Nana, which is on a different network. That's been confirmed as working on the Model X CCS and a Model 3. So basically, whereas before you had to charge on the AC at 11 kilowatts, you can now charge basically on roughly 45 kilowatts at those stations. So that's a great achievement by our little club to get these things working again. Well, sorry, working for what is basically the most popular EV in Western Australia by a significant margin. So that's a great bit of news. Now, in other news, we all know that the West Australian government, I think it was early last week, announced their EV plan, and that basically said that there would be, they committed to approximately $20 million to get fast DC charging, and I'm just, here we go, invest up to $20 million to support the creation of an electric vehicle charging infrastructure network, basically from Perth to Kununurra and along the southwest, mainly coast, and also route to Albany, to basically Albany and Esperance, and also Kalgoorlie. The map of that is coming in 2 seconds, but it basically covers a fair slice of the state. Apologies here. So this is the actual map of the planned route, which clearly shows you've got Kalgoorlie, Esperance, Albany, the inland Albany Highway route, and also 2 coastal routes to, well, basically Walpole and others. And you're going up the coast really awesomely all the way to Kununurra. So that top one there would be Wyndham and also to Kununurra. So once this is done, the state government will basically solve the issue of fast DC charging in the vast majority of our state. Pleasingly, Eva's Lake Grace charger is actually around about here where my cursor is, which is really good because it means it won't be doubled up. It'll be an additional asset over and above what the state government is providing, which will give people more options for holidaying and traversing. Now, the state opposition party announced an EV policy, and
I did too. Yeah, 60 million.
it's a $60 million policy. And I must admit, at first I got really excited thinking, wow, that's triple what the current state government has committed to. However, when you look at the fine print, it basically, what matters to us per se, because we are EV owners, is that they will commit to $24 million. So it's another 4 million. To be honest, I haven't done the numbers on the 138 fast charging stations across 61 sites. I guess that kind of means that most sites basically have on average 2 chargers per site. I don't know if anyone else has had a look at the current government's policy. I don't think it actually specified a number of sites. What they did specify was that sites on average would be approximately 200 kilometres apart, which often up north is not hard to do because that's basically where the interval of many of the roadhouses is. They do go on to, and the government's policy, I think, also included about $3 million in hydrogen station funding, which was an electrolyzed hydrogen station, 2 of them. I think one in the Pilbara at I think it was one of the FMG mine sites, and the other one was at Jandakot, I think. So basically, the opposition has committed to basically $2 million. And they say they've already announced 28 million in other commitments to do with hydrogen, and then they've got an additional $9 million for a hydrogen fueling station partnership. So obviously they'll put in 9, and I'm not sure if that's to like a dollar for dollar commitment. And there is something called a $5 million connected and automated vehicle grants program, which is sort of interesting. And there's another $5 million electric and hydrogen passenger vehicle stamp duty rebate, which has some interest to us. It means that for purchases of new cars, we'll get a $4,000 stamp duty relief, which is good. And then there's some more hydrogen commercial funding. So I guess in summary, without sort of being too critical, effectively, as far as we're concerned, our main benefits as EV owners is an extra $4 million of fast DC charging station funding. And I guess the next thing is mainly the $4,000 stamp duty relief for new vehicles. And there's another 10 million of other stuff. So that was the news that was released a couple of days ago. Look, it's a good thing to do. It's always good. Like I said, I must admit, when I first saw the $60 million headline, I thought, wow, that would be awesome to play a little bit of funding tennis. But in effect, I think what it means is there is bipartisan support, finally, for EVs. So it means that the implementation of that funding will be uncontroversial. And we hope that that means that it ought to be implemented quickly, which it can be. And as a community and as a club, we'll certainly be agitating to certainly pick the lowest hanging fruit very quickly. So major towns where it's easy. We've discussed this in previous sessions, but you know, it really is quite simple to install a fast DC charger. They are basically an appliance, for lack of a better term. All they need to do is, once they've been pre-commissioned at the factory where they're purchased, they've got a SIM card in for billing and whatever. They literally are just connected to 3-phase power of appropriate size. And once that's done, the units are ready to go. Great evidence of that is at Geraldton, which neatly dovetails into some other news that we had. Actually, we had a really busy news week since last Wednesday. A group of us went to Kalbarri on a road trip. It was a extended long weekend, generally a Friday to Monday event. And basically, on the way up, we were sort of luxuriously catered for by fast DC charging. The first location was Jurien Bay. And again, that was provided by John Edwards. He basically, on his own money and effort, got a fast DC charger installed at Jurien Bay. And we can see that here with I think that's one of the cars that has been up there. And that's awesome. That's 50 kilowatts, well, 45 kilowatts basically, sorry, 42 kilowatts, running on what will be a converted diesel generator for technical reasons, but it will eventually be running on used chip oil. So it means the fuel will actually be for free. You can sort of see here that TOCWA has actually done a transport device for the 50 kilowatt chargers, so we can deploy them very quickly. This is just a Model X with a tow hitch, and it can quite easily deploy the charger. In fact, as you see it there, the charger is actually charging the car, and this lead to the lower left is actually just the mains lead going to the wall connector of the building. So that was really awesome. And then we went to Geraldton on the Friday sort of lunchish or afternoon. And it was at the West End boat harbour. And we can see, sorry, an image, and this is actually TOCWA's basically own fast DC charger, and TOCWA had it put up into Geraldton. And a big shout out to the huge generosity of Golden West Ice, who agreed to host it, and that was extraordinarily generous of them. And we had 6 cars go through there successfully, and it made the trip to Kalbarri really pleasant, stress-free. You could basically just top up at each place quite quickly, and we all got to those 6 cars got to Kalbarri really easily, and it all went really, really well. So yeah, we had an awesome time at Kalbarri. Here I can see Brian and Jean were up there. So yeah, Brian, take it away. If you got any comments about the Kalbarri trip or anything that you sort of thought was pretty cool.
Yeah,
no. Sorry, and Peter Tarrant
and Joe
as well. Oh, and Ken Taylor. So we had a good crew. I think we had approximately 8 cars.
That's right.
With a mixture of couples and there was Sheldon, Peter, sorry, and your wife Peter. I forget her name.
Peter Harris was there.
Oh, and Peter Harris.
Yeah, and Greg Bolt and his
Greg
partner.
Bolt. Yes, and Karen, his partner Karen.
That's right. Yeah, no, we had a thoroughly good time. First, well, we've done the rundown to Esperance just by ourselves, but yeah, just so much more fun with a group of Tesla owners. It was really good. And are you able to put that bit of video up, that the drone footage? Everyone thinks that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, if you just talk amongst yourselves for a second, I'll just get that up on Twitter.
Yeah.
We did post it out on Twitter, which is Tesla_WA or at Tesla_WA. I'll bring that up in a moment. Apologies for this dead air.
And we got home quite okay. It was a bit of a longer drive back. Hit the freeway at about 4 o'clock, I think, and it took us over an hour to get over the Narrows Bridge.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Yeah, it was a truck breakdown heading south near the golf course over the bridge. So that was, the only downside of the drive home. Apart from that, it went really well.
I was always curious. One of my neighbours once told me, oh, if you get in a traffic jam, you're going to be stuck by the side of the road because your battery will drain. And I sort of thought, but you're going so slow. We didn't seem to gain anything, but we didn't lose anything either. So it's like, have you heard about electric cars draining their batteries if they're a long time in a traffic jam?
Not for all intents and purposes, because when you are driving at 110, you're generally consuming between 15 and 20 kilowatts of energy continually as you're driving along. Whereas if you're idling with the air conditioner on, you're probably consuming a kilowatt.
Okay.
So if you think about it, if you spent an hour going a kilometer super slowly, you're using 1 kilowatt hour. And if you're whatever kilometers away, you're not really consuming much. If you're 60 kilometers away and you have to waste a whole hour, you've consumed 1 kilowatt hour as opposed to 15 kilowatt hours traveling the 60 kilometers past the traffic jam. So in effect, unless you're on vapors, wrong pun intended, it's not going to make any material difference.
Yeah, it didn't seem to change our end point at all.
So we've got some nice images. We lined some cars up, and no one needs a prize to work out what word we were spelling there, because we are fans of Elon Musk and we just can't help ourselves. So for those that aren't familiar, it's SSEEEEX. We don't have a Model Y yet, but we'll be sure to spell that out next time. Hopefully not too long in the future. And there's another lineup of the cars. This was at the Nature's Window, which is, I presume it's this. I didn't actually see that, but is that Nature's Window?
It is.
Cool, awesome. So that's it at the one of the gorges at Kalbarri. And that's actually one of the skywalks. That's pretty cool, pretty scary. So that was pretty awesome. We also had I don't know where that tweet is. If anyone wants to help out, no, it might be here. There we go. It's going to be low resolution because that's what Twitter is. So there you go. So suffice to say, that was an awesome weekend, and yeah, we had a ton of fun. Brian, I think you also mentioned Peter Harris. He got an award for coming back to Kalbarri with 2% left on his Performance Model 3, which was great work. It wasn't intentional, but we worked out how to get him back, and it was really cool. And it just goes to show that you don't need to panic. You don't need to go slow and sweaty. You can still have your aircon on, drive smoothly. Realize that your car knows what to do, and it will tell you what it needs to do to make it. And all you need to do is follow its instructions, and it will generally get you home. So that was really awesome. I just saw a big hello to Joe. Joe and Seb were also at Kalbarri. And it was an awesome trip. It was actually Seb's on the Thursday night before we came to Kalbarri. It was Seb's 40th birthday. And, I think speaking on behalf of Seb, I think he had an awesome time. It was a great way to spend the 40th, just quietly.
It was.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun.
Yep.
So now in other news, whoops, sorry, just to prove that EV owners and in fact Tesla owners and the Tesla Club, TOCWA, can actually walk and chew gum. There are actually 2 other concurrent events that happened over that same weekend. And one of them, I think Rob Dean can tell us all about.
Yeah, Ava had a function on Friday night and Saturday in Esperance. So we had one Tesla, 3 Konas drove to Esperance. We actually drove different ways. Robin himself went via Albany and Hopetown, and we found a Model 3 in Esperance. There's an owner there, which was good. He's actually quite knowledgeable on Teslas. The festival on the bay was on the whole Saturday from 8 till 4 o'clock. That was exceptional. So the Model 3 and the Konas were taking people for test drives while we were on display. Really good. And basically, look, these country people, this thing about country people won't drive electric cars, they are right into it. They understand they can charge from their solar panels on their farm. They understand they're paying too much for fuel. So, you know, they're very acceptable of electric vehicles out that way. With the Lake Grace DC charger in, it makes it a little bit easier. When we get a DC charger into Ravensthorpe, it's going to be very easy to go from Perth to Esperance. 2 basically 20-25 minute stops. And you want to stop over a 700-kilometre trip. You want to stop anyway. You need to.
Absolutely.
On the way down, we stopped at Kojonup. If you haven't used Kojonup DC yet, please do so. The Kojonup Shire, they got help from the Albany City of Albany putting that in, so people could get to Albany. On the way from, if you leave Perth, you don't have to worry about range. You just stick your air conditioner on, stick your heater on, stick your heated seats on, and drive as fast as you want within the speed limit. No problem getting down to Albany now without worrying about charge.
Absolutely. So how did the actual meetings go? You had, it was over a 2-day period, Rob, or was it the Friday, Saturday night?
Chris Jones from Ava had some meetings with the Shire on the Friday, and the rest of us just went around and got photos around town. And basically he needs the Shire of Esperance to get on board and to encourage Ravensthorpe to put a DC charger in. Exactly as what happened with Kojonup, this is what we need from the Shire of Esperance. And that will make that trip a lot easier. And if any of you haven't been to Esperance, it's a great little town for the summer.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, you can drive out to the wind turbines. They've got the oldest wind turbine in Australia is on display in town. It's got the blades cut down. And the newest turbines they've got there at the moment are actually 27 years old. They're all still running perfectly well. They're supposed to have a lifespan of 20 years, but after 27 years, they're still operating. Although it's, what are they now? They're 220 megawatts each, aren't they, Harold? I think.
Sorry, say again, Rob.
220 megawatts each, these turbines. They're quite small compared to what they're putting in Scotland now. They're putting 12 megawatts in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just trying to find something that I know a lot of people, Richard, I think you might be working up north, so you might be watching us later on. So a big shout out to Richard, and also to Damon, who watches us in our half-hour chunks, and we thank him for it. Hopefully that's, let's have a little look here. The one thing that many people that may not realise that at Esperance, a great destination to go to is the Esperance Stonehenge, which is actually it's like it's an authentic local granite recreation of Stonehenge as it was approximately 4,000 years ago, and it's a great thing to have a look at. I'm just trying to find a video of it. So you talk amongst yourselves as I really bore. Here we go. apologies for the quality, but these are actually, some of these are multi-ton, like I think some of 20 tons or something blocks. And it's a faithful recreation of Stonehenge.
You didn't reverse into accidentally when you left.
I promise you I didn't. And if Peter Harris is watching later, I certainly didn't bang my drone into it. I promise. This time.
It's actually better than the original because the original's partly demolished or fallen down in a lot of ways. So this is what the original should look like.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think what's sort of quite, I don't know, touching about it is that, you know, in 4,000 years' time, we have no idea what it will be, and we'll never know. But perhaps it's plausibly going to be similar to what the current one is. And maybe scientists in the future or anthropologists will work out, well, why did they build another one 4,000 years later? But anyway, it's a great destination for Esperance. And it's something that, you know, is a great thing to have a look at while you're there. Something that I wish we had a bit more of is perhaps this, which this is just getting back to Kalbarri. I think that kangaroo just proves that, you know, laziness never killed anyone, and it looks pretty chilled. And that was actually at the Kalbarri Palms Resort, and they basically did that all day, every day, which was pretty cool. So enough of the little family slides. Now we also had a lot of other things going on at the same time. Now I'm not sure, Pete or Rob, or maybe Nigel, I think there was a race meet in Bunbury. Is that right? Can anyone speak to that? Rob, perhaps?
Yeah, there was, but I didn't go.
No, Rob didn't go. Your mic's on, Rob, so you can speak to that.
No, Peter went. Peter Petrosky went to the Drags on Friday, on Wednesday.
No. I thought there was something at Bunbury. Sorry, on the weekend.
Oh yeah, the Targa West Sprint.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how'd that go, Rob? Did you get any feedback on that?
He was telling me that the Tesla out of all cars, it came 9th out of all cars. That means the cars that can drive at higher speeds. So that's quite a good result.
So sorry, that means that that John Edwards' car, that was still limited to 135 or 130 kilometers an hour?
Yeah, still limited because of the roll cage, because it doesn't have a roll cage. Yeah.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a great testament to the power of EVs, literally, you know, or the acceleration more precisely. So that was awesome.
Once he gets a roll cage in and goes up to the 160 class, 160 kilometers an hour, I just can't see anything getting near it.
No. And I think that John is looking at going into the open category next year with a full roll cage and safety equipment. So it'll be unlimited, which is a whole nother level. And, you know, wouldn't it be lovely to see all those ICE cars just wince at the might of, you know, electrons through induction and other motors?
I'd be curious to know whether or not they have, if they're using track mode.
Yes, they are.
They use track mode, yep.
Yeah, right.
I think we're trying as a club to get Tesla to do, which they haven't yet thought of. And I guess, you know, Tesla can't think of everything because there's so many permutations and combinations. Well, it might not matter next year because I think the car will be going into unlimited, unrestricted speed mode. But what would have been a great thing and super simple to do is in track mode, have a maximum speed limit with maximum acceleration up to and including just that speed, and then it just flatlines. That would have taken a huge load off Jürgen's mind, basically, to have to feather throttles and do all that sort of thing. Because in the Targa West in Perth and surrounds, I think he beat the nearest car in that category by 8 minutes. And the one
8 minutes and 39 seconds, I think it was.
that's amazing.
But
And the
he could have hopped out, grabbed a cup of coffee, come back in, he still would have won.
yeah,
It's unheard of.
yes, that's right, absolutely. And he actually beat the next category up, which was the 160 kilometre per hour speed limited class.
165. Yep.
165. Sorry, thanks, Pete. And he could have done that. Oh, sorry, he had more than 4 minutes to spare on that category. So you know,
So those guys could have driven at 160. Well, they drove at up to 165k. He was limited to 130k, and he still beat the first person in that race by over 4 minutes, which is absolutely incredible. Which is testament to how good the cars are in city streets in everyday driving.
which in rally driving is, I put that's what do you say? I posit that is embarrassing for that class to be beaten by 4 minutes by someone that had to drive slower. So
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. I'm just painting kit today. No, today I was driving to work and right against a Nissan GTR, and I just half pedals and racing it, and then it's like, okay, it's flying past. It's the 60 zone. It's like it must have gone 80, 90 kilometers trying to go past me. I'm like, yeah, it's just amazing. And it's not trying to accelerate fast. It's just your feet's ready on the accelerator just to go. So it's good fun. So yeah, we're talking about inner street driving. You've got that speed if you just want to be first on a traffic light.
So you mentioned go, and with a surname like yours, that's quite appropriate, and it's almost a self pun, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. And it's like, oh, well, look there. Yeah, and I think GTR is like 350 or something, isn't it? Something like that, ridiculous.
It's just not it's just not fair. You almost feel sorry for all those ICE drivers that have to put up with this thing that sets off, 100 explosions a second, and they get nowhere, and they get wheel spin, and it's just not fair. I feel sorry for them, seriously. In follow-on news, because it's been a big week, it's been a very long week. The club was involved. TOCA was involved yesterday at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in the Techno, I think spelt TECHKNOW conference. So we were invited to have a couple of cars, and we also brought the TOCA 50 kilowatt transportable fast DC charger as a prop.
AKA shark fin.
AKA shark fin. AKA barking mad apparatus. And that went really well. And then to follow that up, we were also invited to today's conference, which was the New World Metals. Sorry, New World Metals. Thanks, Pete. And that was really good. That was really busy. Pete and Ken did some test rides. And in fact, Pete had an awesome video of a couple that were in his car, and they just had that Tesla grin. I think Pete, you posted it up on our Facebook page.
I haven't yet. No.
Oh, okay. But you might later or whatever.
I shared Gloria's post to.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. You go, Ken.
Yeah. So Gloria, who's one of the, I think, co-organizers of the event, posted after her ride that she'd had an awesome time. So I shared her post up onto the Facebook page.
And the thing that's really heartening about that is she was a lady that hadn't really seen much of a Tesla, but as soon as she was a little bit skeptical and basically accustomed to the BBAs, Benz, BMW, Audi, Lexus. And she hops in Pete's car and is, with due respect to her, is beside herself with just joy at being driven around. And that's that Tesla grin that, it never gets old. So, people like us, and Pete and Ken and Nigel, we just feed on that sort of passion because it's just awesome. It's limitless. And it happens time after time after time. So it was great that we were invited to those two conferences. And I've got to quite modestly say we were the stars of the show. You know, we really were. So yeah, big shout out for Pete and Ken. It was, you know, awesome that we were there and we got to share that passion. And I think that might be most of the news. I don't think much else happened. Unless anyone's got anything else that came up in the meantime. Oh, sorry, yes. Starship, serial SN8. You know, many of us stayed up last night until, well, me personally, about 11:45, and I gave up. I think Ken described it as he stayed up until stupid o'clock.
I was still up at 12:20, wondering if anything was going to happen. And then I got back up at 6 o'clock in the morning, ready for the countdown to 0 that then stopped.
Indeed, and I think
that's of the year.
Not wanting to sort of be an armchair expert, but it almost looked like the two back Raptors started up, and the front one closest to the camera may not have, or not quite properly. And yeah, as Ken says, they aborted. How many? It was like a fraction of a second before takeoff, or a second or so.
A few milliseconds in, computer said no, and that was that. So they're planning to. My reading of it is they're planning to reattempt it 6:30 a.m. Perth time.
Awesome.
So if you're up, jump on the stream. It'll be exciting regardless of what happens.
Yes, and as we discussed last week, it literally doesn't matter what happens, because it will. Or anything will be spectacular by all accounts. It'll either be crash and burn or land perfectly in a ridiculous maneuver that is just beyond belief. That actually gets me to the last sad news story, was the passing of Chuck Yeager. And I say that in connection with SpaceX because he was actually a pioneer of hypersonic rocket-assisted jet flight. In fact, I think he was actually involved in breaking the sound barrier at the time in the late 40s and early 50s. So unfortunately, he passed before Starship, and I guess it would have been prophetic had he made it all the way, but you know, you can't pick your time. So I think that's the last bit of news. I don't know if anyone else has got anything else apart from that.
Have we talked about the plethora of service bookings for old Model S's and X's?
Oh, yes. Yes, thanks, Ken. The great news is that for those of us with MCU2 cars, which is basically those that received cars from early, well, probably early 2017, up until sometime in 2018, I think early 2018, we had...
Yeah, all cars pre-mid 2017 have MCU1.
Sorry, yes, and hardware 2 and 2.5, I think hardware 3 came out in S's. By the way, Model 3s have got awesome, everything's awesome, don't worry. There's nothing to see here, move along if you've got a Model 3 or an upcoming Y, so you've got the latest, greatest. But S's and X's of a certain age had either a hardware 2 or a hardware 2.5 autopilot computer, and also up until a certain time, as Ken said, had the MCU, which stands for Media Control Unit. It's our central touchscreen, which in S's and X's is a portrait style, whereas in the newer Model 3s is landscape. Those cars now, Tesla are booking cars in that situation for, if you've paid for full self-driving, you get the computer that you finally need to get that feature to work. And then Tesla also generously invited us to pay $4,000 for a media control unit, which is the same one as Model 3s have. They also quite magnanimously allowed us to pay an additional $750 to get a FM radio tuner, which, having known that we've gone to the Galaxy Drive-In last week, I think it was, or about a week ago-ish, is extremely useful. So Tesla's just going to take my money, for better or worse. Now, they are booking now. Parts are sort of a little bit iffy. and there's a little bit of to and fro as far as actual availability. So some of us have had our service bookings sort of pushed back a little bit, but let's hope that perhaps before Christmas we might have an awesome present of doing things like you Model 3 people and new Tesla owners, such as Damon, who's watching us in half-hour chunks later, and thanks for doing so. You know, all you guys can watch Netflix and YouTube videos and all of that sort of stuff. And if you're clever with certain web pages, I think you can watch Hulu and other things, and play some more fun games. Ken and I and a few other dinosaurs, with due respect to Rob.
It's all right. He's gone. We can.
He's
talk about
gone,
it.
so we won't speak of Rob. Yeah, that's okay. We'll finally be able to join the club. So, like you guys, where you can see wheelie bins and a big shout out to Pete Peter Harris. I was fortunate to be in his car on the way back from Nature's Window back to Kalbarri, and I had the most awesome fun looking at the upright white road markings left and right with the reflectors, the white and red reflectors. And we're playing the game of Spotto, because what the car would do is sometimes it would show that that upright marker as a marker, or it would show it as a cone, or it would show as a marker and then a cone and then a marker. And if you had two of them, it was almost like playing two up, where you'd either have two markers, two cones, or a marker and a cone, or it would change halfway through.
Yeah,
So-
some of those uprights have got a red reflector on top, and those are the ones that become cones.
I accept that, Nigel, but I do beg to differ, because I think the red ones are on the left and the white ones are on the right in Australia. So for Elon, of course, sorry, apologies, it's the reverse. And we know Elon watches this show
Every week. Yeah.
every week.
Religiously.
And Elon, we love the fact that you said, look, let's just contrive a Raptor engine partial startup failure, just so we can have this show first, discuss it, get it all right. You know, we're helping you there. We're part of the cause. We're helping you. And tomorrow we'll be watching, you know, in earnest. But yeah, so Nigel, I think it was kind of a bit random, to be honest.
It's certainly with the metal barriers down the freeway, where you've got the metal uprights, and every other one of those is, now and again, has got a red reflector on it, and they suddenly appear as a cone. Only sometimes.
You mean the shredder? Is that with the rope, or is that just a standard Velcro?
The metal rope.
Oh, the shredder. Cool. Awesome. But look, and you know, Ken and I we are literally beside ourselves. In fact, if Ken and I were beside ourselves, we would literally be that, and in anticipation and excitement, you know.
It's a bit mundane actually now.
Oh, stop it.
Well,
Stop it.
But Nigel, wouldn't it be lovely for us? Look, I promise Ken and I will admit in some time in the distant future that, yeah, it's mundane and it's boring and, well, what was the big deal? But you know what? At the moment, we're like, it's Christmas. We can rattle the present and we can feel it. We can hear it. It's like, ooh, hardware 3.
Best Christmas present ever. You know, and then we just need to lean on Tesla to roll out FSD beta to Australia.
I can understand where you're coming from, because when it first came out and I'm looking at it going, wow, that's cool. Next day, oh yeah, there it is.
Well, another big shout out to Damon. I've mentioned it before several times. He drove me back from the Camfield, and because he's sort of on the way past my place, and it was Wednesday, because we have a regular, well, this meetup, once every 2 months, we substitute the Zoom meeting for a physical meetup on a Wednesday evening. The next month we do a Sunday afternoon meetup, casual meetup, so that people have different lives and lifestyles and whatever. Anyway, he took me back to my place, and of course Wednesday for me is bin day. And I was just sitting there beside myself watching all these wheelie bins go by on the big touchscreen, and I'm going, how good is Tesla? It's even got wheelie bins. And it had fat wheelie bins. When they had two really close together, it had like a big fat wheelie bin. Oh, it's a little.
It doesn't have the color of the lids on it.
Oh. So Elon, look, this is a small group where, you know, we won't tell anyone else. Just please come on, let's just go the extra mile. And we got red ones. No, we got, red ones, brown ones, blue one. No, we got blue ones actually. Yes, we do. We want wheelie bin lids, please.
But Carol, there's a reason why the wheelie bins are monotone, because they're not that important. Whereas a witch's hat comes up orange, because that's obviously a lot more important that you see that.
So I'm not encouraging anyone to do this, but has anyone actually tried to have a wheelie bin in the middle of the road to see what color it is then? I guess it goes, I guess it goes red.
I can guarantee I'll be testing that next Friday. When I get back with my new kit, I'm going to roll a wheelie bin into the middle of the street. In fact, I'm going to set up a wheelie bin slalom down my street. I'll be filming my MCU.
Oh dear.
Challenge accepted.
Can I ask, with the hardware upgrades, are you taking your vehicle to the service centre, or are they coming to you?
That's a good question. Technically,
my understanding is it's a service centre visit. They can't do it as a mobile. You may, there's differing reports as to whether the MCU upgrade can be done as a mobile, but the HW3 upgrade needs to be in at the service centre.
So is that to the Karrakatta service centre, or
yes,
is the new one in Osborne, Scarborough Beach Road going to be ready sometime soon?
I spoke to Adam today because I've just booked mine in, and he said won't be till the middle of January.
Yeah. My understanding is even after the delivery centre is there, the service centre will move later than that. So even if the delivery centre opens before the end of the year, the service centre won't be moving until next year. But yeah, probably, I've heard the same thing, Nigel. Probably mid-January or late January, the service centre will move.
And neither Ken nor I care where we take our cars. We'll take our cars to UCLA to get the Hardware 3 update at MCU.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
It is.
Yeah, $4,000 so you can see wheelie bins and orange cones.
Take my money, Elon.
$4,000 so that I don't have bathtub ring and my MCU doesn't crash, and the web browser works, and I get Sentry mode, and I get the ability to review my Sentry, and I get dash cam, and it's the best money I've spent since I bought the car.
Because some of you guys might not realize that our Sentry mode plays loud music, which I must admit Rochelle experienced inadvertently. And that was, she assures me it was really loud and not pleasant. And it does the little not how image of a flowery something, red light button or whatever, but it doesn't actually record. I don't think it records anything at all. So it's really there. It's equivalent of a red LED on a fake camera.
Actually, speaking of Sentry mode, remember listening to one of the podcasts, I think it was today, that one of the new software updates is going to allow the Sentry mode cameras to use the internal storage of the car. So even if you don't have a USB stick plugged in or configured, it will save one clip, I think.
That's dead right, Pete. I can't find it. I was going to mention this last week, but there was a tweet out from the UK, and I mentioned this last week briefly, about someone that used a Besser block, concrete block, to smash into a Model 3, and that car had no storage whatsoever. Those clips, and it was actually multiple views, because of the severity of the impact, which actually didn't just break the passenger in the UK, the passenger side, left-hand side window, but the Besser block sort of went a bit high, and I think it damaged the top part of the roof, that beam, don't know what you call that, and possibly even the top roof glass. I think it was many thousands of pounds damage. But Tesla actually emailed, sort of almost automatically, the owner of that car to say, hey, we saw this event, and here is the videos. And he then put that on social media to garner support from the community to find who it was that did it. And I've got to say, the images were really clear, and it was full motion video. So Pete, you're dead right. Not only do they presumably store it locally, at least for some duration, but they can actually stream it using the car's internet connection, potentially with or without premium connectivity, whether you're paying for that subscription or not. But because it was a severe event that caused the alarm to go off or whatever impact to be detected, Tesla just forwarded that to, they must have obviously known there was no local storage, and forwarded the MP4 files to the owner. And that was awesome.
They're going to allow you to review Century Mode events on your phone coming, hopefully.
Is there not also talk of, Nigel, that they would almost or possibly let you see live images from your car as well? I think.
There's some talk. It's all a bit maybe at the moment, I think. And they're all talking about it's Elon's Chrissy Prezi to all of us.
Well, Elon, you know, we're a small community. You can trust us not to tell anyone. So just, you know, flick us a message. You know, the chat button is on the right-hand side. I know you're in stealth mode as you're watching this, but just send us a message and we'll keep it to ourselves, we promise. But yeah, that'd be awesome, Nigel. That would be awesome.
And well, actually, it sounds like it's been confirmed that 5G is coming. So
yes,
speaking of connectivity, and possibly even a retrofit to the existing models, because they did a 4G LTE retrofit from the 3G, which I think cost about $500 US, apparently.
Yes, Pete, and Ken and I are going to groan because in our cars, we couldn't get that upgrade. We've got 3G.
Oh, really?
Yes, absolutely, unfortunately. And apparently in the United States, they could, with MCU1, get a 4G upgrade, LTE upgrade. Not available in Australia, but we'll obviously get 4G with our new MCU. It would be lovely to think that perhaps 5G was in there as well, but maybe not. But I'll take your point. Hopefully it should be something that can be upgraded in the future, which would be really good. And beneficial to Tesla, because when they get their Dojo supercomputer running, they may from time to time want to stream a fair bit of video content to that supercomputer to train the AI neural network to improve
Actually, on that point, Ken's got a good story about James Locke and his experience. Ken was telling me about that earlier today, about how his car was uploading 3 gig, did you say, overnight? Ken?
Yeah, that's right. He posted on Twitter, so it's not a secret. But yeah, after each of his runs, when he was doing beta testing, when he got home to his home Wi-Fi, his car uploaded a huge slab of data each time. So I'm assuming that I don't think it's a difficult assumption that the beta is gathering a lot of data to feed back to the mothership for them to process, which is great.
Yeah.
Hey, and in another software news, has anyone got 8510, which is in release apparently today? I know it's in wide release, and that adds apparently text messaging to hardware 3 cars too.
We downloaded the update today, but I haven't been yet in the car to see what it's done, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah, my understanding is the new update gives has a SMS interface, and so it'll do text to speech. And
do that?
It does that already, Ken.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of us with the modern cars, it does that.
So I thought that was one of the features in 85.
The difference with the update is that it does multiple. It reads out the multiple texts if there's more than one.
Okay.
Great.
Well, there's another thing that I get for my $4,000. Fantastic. Good to know.
It's totally worth it. Elon, you're a master. You know, take our money. Here it is. It's coming. Credit card included.
Well, at last I got my Century Mode to work. I've tried everything to get it to work. and it turns out you've got to have the stick in the slot closest to the driver. I was under the impression both would work. That's certainly how I read it. But the driver's side one is the only one that will make my car work.
Really,
so-
Peter? So does your other slot still charge phones or provide power? Is it still functional, but otherwise?
It will charge a phone, but it won't accept, and it'll also read the music file, the other one. But I don't know why I couldn't get the Sentry Mode to work except the one beside the driver.
Well, that's a great pro tip for everyone watching later. Wow, I didn't realize that. That's obviously for models probably S and X, or
Yes.
actually, yeah, possibly.
But the way I read it, both should have accepted the Sentry Mode, but in
Yes.
my case, anyway, it wouldn't work in the slot that's well hooked up as a charger. I had to move it to the other one, and it did work. But the music USB will work in the charge port for sure. I don't know why the Sentry Mode won't, but it wouldn't in my car.
Cool. That's really interesting. So for anyone else out there that's tried that on perhaps a newer S and X, and look, no doubt we're going to try. Ken and I will be trying that soon-ish.
Yes.
Bought an SSD today.
Oh, nice. Now this sort of dovetails neatly. Although we've said this last week, I think it was last week, that one of the great new features of the new version, I guess you could call it 2021 Model 3s, which I've actually heard they have actually landed, according to Bridie Schmidt on The Driven, they have landed in Australia, is the fact that there's a USB port in your glove box, which
Yes.
the additional security feature of that is that it can be secured if you wish via a PIN code, so that people can't just sort of go straight into your glove box without smashing it.
It's a fabulous idea. But is an SSD solid state, or is that just a disk drive?
Ken?
Yeah, SSD is a solid state disk. So
You get a solid state one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to sort of extend that a little bit, you can buy a straight memory stick, and that's a bad idea because they wear out quite quickly because they're being overwritten continually with memory intense video files. You can buy an SSD, which is a great option. You can also buy a micro SD with a USB adapter, and that's an awesome way to go.
You can actually, Harold, you can actually get a 1 terabyte one now for I think it was $350.
That's amazing.
So they've really come down in price.
Is that a Kingston by any chance?
No, that's a
Not a SanDisk, is it?
SanDisk. Yeah.
Oh, cool!
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a SanDisk, and that's the Extreme Pro too.
Yes. Yep. Awesome.
So,
yep.
So which is what you want. Yeah.
Good scoop. Now, I don't know if it's Abstract Ocean or one of the other American companies that provide or might.
It's not Abstract Ocean. It's the other one.
Yeah.
Something Live Tesla or one of them. Yeah.
They provide an option. Is this right where you have an SSD or whatever it is, but it also has a Wi-Fi access feature.
Oh.
So you can actually, it's like a dual port memory. So you can leave the drive in your car, and you can actually via your Wi-Fi network remotely access the files in the comfort of your study or whatever. So you don't even have to remove them if you need to save them. And
there's a few of those around. There's sort of purpose-built SSDs designed for backing up photos for photographers and things, and they have built-in USB file sharing options. So you can just use one of those to get the same thing.
Cool. Well, we promise to get that on our website sometime soon, perhaps. Not wanting to write checks that I'm not going to personally cash, but I'll try my best, or Ken, or someone.
And once I get a car that can test it, I'll test it.
Touche. So now it's in everyone's interest that Ken and I get our MCU too. But that's pretty cool. And I think is it right that Tesla may have the option on Wi-Fi, not on cellular, but on Wi-Fi, that you might be able to also stream it to your home internet? Maybe, I'm not sure if that might be a feature, or is that a future feature?
Yeah, I haven't heard.
It's not a current feature,
No. Yeah, absolutely.
and I haven't heard anything about it becoming a feature.
Cool. Well, like Ken said, there are effectively dual port SSDs where you can have Wi-Fi access, which could be quite useful if you just don't want to have to keep pulling your SSD out. But then I guess obviously you don't need to do that if there was something really interesting that you've seen on Dashcam or Sentry Mode.
Would now be a good time to raise the solar, where I'm not sure what type of connector I should put in to charge the car from, because I am upgrading my solar. That'll be just after Christmas, but I've ordered it now, and I'm a bit uncertain as to what to put in to charge the car, whether I should put 3-phase plug-in. I assume that's the way to go, but I don't know. I'm not.
What have you got at the moment, Peter?
I'm only using my 15 amp at the front of the garage. I've got two options there, but the 15 amp is the better one. That seems to work all right. But
so you have 3-phase?
Yes, I do.
And your car came with a HPWC?
I don't know what that is.
Sorry, the high power wall connector.
Yes, I've got that. I haven't put that in. Put that in, or the 3-phase?
No, sorry. So your house is 3-phase. The high power wall connector can be connected to either 3-phase if you have it, or single phase if you don't. Your car, being a modern Model X, can absorb 24 amps 3-phase, which is 17 kilowatts roughly maximum. Or if you have a single phase setup, it can draw 32 amps single phase, and that number also applies with Model 3s, S's and X's for that matter, all cars. So look, it's up to you. You basically, you already have a car charger for free that you paid for as part of your car.
Yep.
So one way you could go is install that charger. Now, strangely enough, for solar, if you want to do it sort of the manual method, it's actually preferable and cheaper to install it in single phase mode, which means you can charge your car up to 32 amps single phase, all the way down to 6 amps single phase. So you've got a very wide dynamic range. You can go from roughly 7 kilowatts to 1400 watts. So without buying any other equipment, you can just use your HPWC as it is. Now, are you getting a battery system as well, Peter, or just straight solar?
No, it's a bit early. The battery I'm looking at is Redflow, and they're revising it at the moment. So I think it's a bit early for that.
Okay. So what you can do, look, if your car is parked at home a lot, then you could just do the fairly simple method, which is, say it after 10 a.m. when the sun's getting up pretty high, particularly in summer, you could just set your current on your car, if you're using single phase, to roughly, 3 or 4 or 5 kilowatts or whatever it is that's below what your house might use, plus what your solar might produce.
Yes.
And just let it sit there for the next X number of hours. And it's not the most technically efficient way to do it. You can have a more precise tracking with something like a Zappi charger. But the thing is, a Zappi will cost you over $1,000. And you've got to sort of work out, what's the inefficiency like? Is it worth me paying $1,000 to extract $100 worth of extra solar, bearing in mind that you may not even need it, because by the end of the day, going slow and steady will probably charge your car back up anyway, and you won't care. So perhaps economically, it might not be strictly viable, albeit it's very convenient. So you could just sort of plug in, forget it. You know that, it'll charge as quickly as it can without overdrawing. And you could do that. But again, you've already bought an EVSE that you've got for, you've already got it in your house. One method is just install that and be done with it. and deal with this slight inconvenience of having to somewhat monitor it. So it might be that by 3 p.m, if your car's a bit flat, you just go into your app and tell it to stop charging because it's drawing excessive current. Frustratingly, Elon, we don't have a slider for current, which would be a killer feature. And I think everyone's going to agree that being able to remotely adjust your current,
Yes.
or more so reduce the current. Maybe, we'd be happy if we could just decide to set it to a value at the start of the charging period and then simply reduce it. That would be awesome. Because I can see a logic that might say that maybe you shouldn't increase it remotely because you may not be aware of what's there or something. But, those OHS people at Tesla should just allow us to reduce the current. So then you can taper off down in the afternoon a little bit while you're monitoring your solar on your app.
Yeah, that would be really nice. So Elon, once you've got your thingy number 8 to take off and land successfully in about 12 hours, can you pop over and reprogram our app? Thanks.
High five, Nigel. That I couldn't agree more.
So I should just fit my charger that came with it, and and hang on to that. And I agree with it. Monitor that. Probably fairly simple.
Look, given that most people don't, on average, a West Australian car travels no more than on average 36 kilometres per day. It doesn't take a lot of time to charge your car back up to full, or to whatever level you want. So
You've got to remember, I'm retired. I get more than that every day.
Well, true, but then you can go to the nearest shopping centre and just top up more.
That's true too.
Because we're supporting places that have destination charges.
More so every day. That's more relevant every day. That's for sure. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Peter, I've got my Tesla charger on a 32 amp single phase, so I can get up to the 7 kilowatts. And when I get home, I have a look on my app to see what the solar panels are producing, and I go, right, I've got 4 kilowatts spare, so I wind the amps down, so it's taking about 4 kilowatts, and I just check it every now and again. And I might have to pop out to the car, which is in the garage, and just wind it down a couple of amps or whatever. And then about 4:30, 5 o'clock, I just stop it.
That sounds good. Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah.
And to be honest, as much as it pains me to say, a single phase installation is a lot cheaper. And what should I say, a properly done single phase installation is a lot cheaper than a properly done 3-phase installation, because legally you need to have what's called an RCBO, which is a residual current. So it's the RCD part, and a breaker with overload, RCBO. So it's an RCD and an overload. Now in single phase, it's one item that costs $30, $20, something like that, for a 40 amp or 32 amp breaker. Super easy to install, easy cabling. It's really simple. In 3-phase, it's really difficult, if not literally impossible, to get a compact 3-phase residual current device and a circuit breaker built in that's not 7 DIN units wide, which means in many people's houses you'll have to get a secondary
board put in, and that costs extra money, and
at least a couple of $100 extra. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, Pete. Yes, absolutely. So what you will lose is for Model 3 at 7 kilowatts or single phase at maximum current, you'll get approximately 50 kilometers per hour charging. If you have the 11 kilowatts 3-phase, which is 16 amps per phase, 3-phase, you'll get approximately 70 kilometers. But most people charge their cars overnight. It's not like you sort of rock up almost empty and then go, I've got to plug in, and then suddenly go off for a 100K trip somewhere. So yeah, Pete, I think path of least resistance and least expense,
and yeah, how many solar panels are you putting on? 6.6 kilowatts, or with the so you're going to have a 5 kilowatt inverter, so you're not going to be able to suck more than that out of the solar panels. So a simple single phase 32 amp will get you tops at 7.2 kilowatts. So that should be fine.
And in fact, Peter, one actual distinct issue with three-phase is the least current you can set on the car is actually 5 amps. The HPWC can be as low as, or can be set as low as 6, but the car you can dial down to 5 amps, and 5 by 240 by 3 is 3,600 watts. So that's 3.6 kilowatts is the least you can deliver to your car. So it means you really have to wait until late morning, depending on what your house is drawing, to ensure that you're not overdrawing your system.
Yeah.
So there's a lot less dynamic range or settings, because for every amp you go up in three-phase, you're actually getting you're getting about 750 watts of increment. Whereas in single phase, you're only getting roughly 240-ish watts of increment.
Okay, I got a sort of follow-up question. I think things get a bit more complicated. So, for example, I've just gone with Gemtech, got a few quotes and bits and pieces, and they recommended, due to my board, I should go with single phase. How does it complicate? Maybe P might be able to work off it in the sense that if we've got three-phase solar and we go with a one-phase wall charger, how does that work? It's out of sync because let's say you're 5 kilowatts, but that single phase has only got 1.67 or something like that. How does it all work together?
It doesn't matter, Yun, because the great thing of your utility meter is except for the regulations that are involved phase imbalance, it doesn't matter if, let's say, your three-phase solar is pumping out 5 kilowatts evenly across all 3 phases. And let's say that's, well, it's basically 5 on 3 per phase is going out, and you're pulling 5 kilowatts on one of the phases. The meter actually zeroes that out and records a 0 net power flow, even though technically there is power leaving 2 of the 3 phases and the sum of that power entering one of those phases to balance. So you don't have to worry about whether you're drawing power from 1 phase or 2 phases and other power is flowing in the opposite direction. Your meter very carefully nulls that out and measures the net power flow, whether that's in or out of the meter. So you don't need to worry about, like, the other corollary is you could have a single phase inverter, solar inverter, and a 3-phase HPWC. And again, it won't matter as long as what you're pulling through 3 phases is being balanced out by what's flowing out of one of those phases.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it doesn't matter.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm getting a board installed next week as well. I'm going, single phase, 3-phase. I really want the 3-phase because, you know, it's going to balance out the 3-phase inverter. But if that's the case, well, we've gone because my board's not big enough. We're just going to go with a single phase, but that's not an issue. It is then.
And like I said before, yeah, single phase is so easy because it's one single. If you've got one spare slot, you can have your 32 amp 3-phase charger, easy. If you don't have many slots, it becomes a nightmare. And not disrespecting certain electricians, but some electricians will go, well, we just need a 3-phase circuit breaker. Well, you don't. You need to have an RCD, a residual current device, an earth leakage detector, and you need to have a a circuit breaker. And in 3-phase, I think there might be some that are available that are 4 DIN positions all built in together, but they're horrendously expensive. I think they're well north of $300. Whereas a single phase device, and it pains me to say it, they are only like, I think wholesale they're less than $20.
So I didn't have any spare DIN poles in my switchboard. So yeah, I had to have a separate little subboard. And yeah, it took up 7 slots. So it was a 10 pole subboard. And yeah, the charger took up 7 of the DIN poles.
Yep. And Pete, you had yours done properly because it had the RCD and it had the overcurrent, and that's done correctly. Yeah. And that's actually in the when you in your box for the HPWC, the high power wall connector, there is actually a little booklet, but it's also available online, and it specifically says you need the 2 devices.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. So one takes up 4 and the other, and then the 3. So yeah.
4 and 3, 7 DIN positions. It's huge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And just on the 3-phase plug or adapter I've got, I noticed 2 aren't connected. Of course, the cable or the won't handle the full 3-phase.
Yeah, well, yes. Unfortunately, whereas the first generation of the Universal Mobile Connector, the UMC, had 3-phase cabling or connection going straight through to the plug into the car, the new UMC, which all current cars have, all new cars, for the last 18 months or so, if you actually look at your tail or look at your UMC, you'll actually see 2 vestiges of holes that would have pins, but Tesla, for reasons known only to themselves, have decided to not pursue that or continue to pursue it. And their new generation UMC is strictly single phase.
No, that's right. Just in front mine wanted to know that. I didn't understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the tail you've either bought through the club or via other means deliberately only passes one of the 3 phases.
Yeah.
And technically it passes L1, so it complies with the way the UMC works. Yeah, that's what happens.
That's good. That answers all my questions. I think that's fabulous.
See, Troy.
Troy, thanks for coming. Really appreciate it. You're welcome to come back anytime you like, every Wednesday, or come to our casual meetups. We'll email you out. And welcome to the club.
Yeah, thank you very much. And sorry to interrupt, but I just got to get going.
Totally cool.
Nice to meet everyone, and look forward to catching up in person one time.
Absolutely. Really look forward to it. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. See you, everyone. Bye.
Take care.
No, that's been good for me. I'm a bit ignorant when it comes to some of those features, so that's really appreciated.
It's totally cool. And just to be technical with the Model X people, which you are, Peter, look, with 3-phase, you could get 17 kilowatts if you're going flat out. That's 72 k's an hour in your car. On the 7.2, it might be 38 k's an hour. But again, you don't care because your car can sit there for hours on end and it won't matter.
Well, if I can use it for free in the sun, it's got to be good. So that's fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Peter Terran, you got back home safely.
Yes, I did. I just got actually 4 things to run past people. I finally got my microphone working. The screen which is for Harold. So
it's called. I'm listening. Pete.
Oh, okay. It's a looking one as well. So this is a.
I'm also looking. I'm just getting a beer. It's okay.
Okay. All right. The thing behind me is a fluorescent sheet. Now, fluorescence is when you put a light source onto something, and the light that comes back is stored, and if it's more than 10 nanoseconds, then that's fluorescence. Otherwise, it's phosphorescence. Anyway, so this sheet, you put a bright light on it, and it'll hold that light. It's just like a common or garden fluorescent sheet. You get it in all sorts of toys and things. But just in regard to what Harold was talking about, investing in northern minerals and dysprosium, this sheet is strontium, aluminium, magnesium aluminate, and it's got europium and dysprosium as the dopants. And so it is actually, I did actually have some dysprosium at home. I thought I might have, but anyway, that's the first thing. That's by the by. So it is used. It's also used in motors to actually raise the heat tolerance of neodymium, because it's not, which is not that good. It's got a purity point that's a bit dodgy. So dysprosium is one of the heavy rare earths, and a company called Northern Minerals is doing that, and hopefully they'll do well.
And Peter, just sorry to interrupt. I believe that Cable Sands, are they still operating near Bunbury?
Yeah, they've gone by different names. They keep getting bought out by, I don't know if it's Cobalt Sands, it was Iluka, and then it was, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, yeah, but that's more mineral sands. There's more titanium and zirconium and something else. I've got a whole lot of samples there and different radioactivities, which is nice to measure. The second thing is on our trip back, we ran into some tumbleweed. I don't know if did you run into some tumbleweed as well?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
and I thought, oh look, I have to take a picture of my phone, you know. So I thought, no, I don't. I just have to honk the horn.
yes, you
Because
do.
it gives you a dash cam. So I haven't looked at it yet, but I did once I worked this out. I sort of
And Peter, for the benefit of the police commissioner who's also watching this YouTube,
yeah.
to be perfectly clear, Peter Terran simply honked his horn and recorded that footage. No mobile phones were involved, except those that were held by his wife, who was the passenger. Just
My lovely wife Jane, yes, she should have, but no, anyway, so I saw that. That was quite interesting.
But Pete, you've got to make sure you've got it selected. So,
Yes.
so save footage on honk the horn. You've got to have that selected.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it is. Yeah, that's the first thing. The third thing is I just looked up the Model 3, which is slightly different to mine. It's the one without chromium, and it's a bit cheaper and a bit longer range, same speed, I think. And I just noted the luxury car tax was $1,300, and my luxury car tax was $6,500 or something like that. And 6,000, and of course it goes to 33%. So I've got full self-driving, $10,000, but it puts it into luxury car tax. You got 33% on top of that. So the actual full self-driving is $1,300, not 13,000, not 30,300 rather than 10,000. So I thought that was sort of nice to know.
What you can do.
So go on, Pete. You're going to do the buy later thing, Pete?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what you can do, Pete, is you can take delivery of your car without it, and then add full self-driving on once you've already taken delivery of the car, and thereby, you know, saving yourself having to pay LCT on it for no reason. But if you're looking at buying a new car now, there's a chance that. Right. Okay. So yeah, but so I guess for anyone listening that's looking at buying a car now, you may end up, you may end up being even Stevens in the end, because if FSD beta comes in, by the time your car's delivered and you waited to have FSD put on your car, well, Elon said $2,000 US extra. So that's about $3,000 Aussie. So it works out pretty much the same. So
yeah, no, I'd say.
So Peter's point is correct. Sorry, Peter Terran's point is correct. And there was a time I think that Tesla had a differing value for, at the time, what was called an enhanced autopilot. It didn't actually matter whether you bought it before delivery or after, because they sort of felt obliged to have a differing price.
About a week,
I believe now the price is flat, whether it's before or after. So, in the great mode of Kerry Packer, who said that anyone that pays more tax than they're supposed to is an idiot, because the government doesn't do that much good with it. It's true that you should always minimize tax, just don't avoid it. But with the caveat that Pete Petrosky said, is that for new people buying, so Peter Terran, you've paid your money, it's all over, you can't undo that, you can't unscramble that egg. But for new buyers, it is absolutely correct at the moment that you could postpone the ordering of FSD until you've received your car. But as Pete Petrosky quite rightly says, there is a risk, and the price of full self-driving has gone up in the States, because full self-driving is a lot more real there than it is here. But it's only one software update away from, if it starts becoming introduced into Australia in a meaningful way, absolutely Tesla will simply, with possibly like a week's notice, or maybe
1 week, correct. Yep.
So what it could be is, if you're a new buyer, so Damon, if you're out there wanting to hanker for a Model Y for your lovely wife, don't buy FSD. We're going to say that right now. It's not financial advice. don't buy it right now, but keep on Twitter. And as soon as Elon Musk says FSD is going to be up in price, whatever, and if you haven't received your car yet, just go and order it. Play safe. And that's the best non-financial advice that we can give. Bearing in mind that anything we say here is of a general nature, and people should do their own research, whatever that ABC drivel.
Don't order a new car, just buy Tesla shares.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we haven't done this tonight yet.
650.
It's a beautiful thing. What can you say? 650, 380, up 392.
Oh, you make me cry. I didn't buy any of them.
Yeah,
it's coulda, woulda, shoulda.
I've made 50 to 60% in about a month. So
Good
I'm
job,
quite happy.
Nigel. That's awesome.
No,
You're a happy camper.
Now to make a 5,000%, then I can afford to buy a Plaid S.
I'm not
Well,
giving
we're just
anything
going to
away.
the
but
40S.
Nigel, if you make, what was it, 6,000%?
Yeah, 4,000 or 5,000%. You're going to be in the millions and millions.
I know nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Repair. Repair
You can
is a
buy-
currency.
You can buy us all a Plaid S.
Well,
In this room, I could almost say it because even though Elon watches this, and he may just donate it anyway, because he's going to make. Actually, that's another piece of news that we didn't cover. Is that now, Pete? Is it right that Tesla has almost achieved the market capitalization target to have Elon Musk get the entire 10% tranche of options to buy Tesla?
Yes, but I think it's over a 6-month average, 3 or 6 month average.
Yes.
And there's, I think there's about 12 other conditions, so operating conditions, so revenue, EBITDA, etc. So
yes, and I think Rob Maurer on Tesla Daily, which we should link to because that will be good for our subscribership. I think he surmised that there would be 4 of one condition and 8 of the other, which were quite easy to achieve. I forget which way it went.
In a couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get to about 1.5 million cars or something like that, I think it works out to.
Yeah. Was it 75? I think it was from memory 75 billion per annum revenue. I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then Elon will overtake Mr. Bezos as the most wealthy man in the world because he's number 2 at the moment. So
he sure is.
And he will be the world record holder of the largest corporate payment to an executive or an owner ever. And it was funny because, sorry, Pete?
Rightly so.
Yes, and what was funny was I remember when this at the time, because bear in mind that at the time when this initial tranche of offerings was proposed, Tesla was a minute $50 billion company. Yeah. And I must admit there were some short Tesla interests that tried to say it was outrageous that if Tesla got to $650 billion of market capitalization, which they didn't believe it would anyway, but they basically said that if it did, it would be outrageous that Elon Musk would steal 10% of the company or be given it. And yet, I was one of those long-suffering investors where the shares weren't doing that well, going, you know what, if he can take this company from, I think it was basically 11 bags or roughly 10 or 11 or 12 bags.
Close to 12, yeah.
Yeah, close to 12 bags. If he could take that to 12 bags, he can have 10% of my shares. I don't care. I really don't, because that means I'd be doing so well, it's just not funny. And
you can give that 10% to me, Harold.
Sorry, say again, Pete?
You can give me that 10% if you like.
Well, what I mean is Elon is getting, he's not getting 10%, but he's getting a certain percentage of my shares, so to speak. Yeah. But I'm not whinging.
Because Harold, 13 bags, actually. 13
but
fold,
yes.
yeah.
13 bags. Who
17.7
cares?
from my first purchase of 17.7.
Oh, wow.
From 37 shares to sorry, for $37 to $6.55. So
And what's beautiful is when you look at that on your share trading platform, the percentage numbers are 4 digits. It's just a wonderful thing, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
But who would begrudge? It's like if I said to anyone,
It's not.
I don't know, I'll give you $10 shares, but if I get them to become $300 shares or something, will you mind if I take, you know, a percentage of your shareholding? It's like as if you would, you know, it's ridiculous. But Elon Musk is in danger, well, not in danger, he's certainly going to achieve that.
Yeah.
The whole thing, which was a 10-year plan, because this was slated as a 10-year plan, and many analysts looked at it and laughed and said, you've got to be kidding. You're not even worth 50 billion and you're trying to aspire to be a 12, 13 bagger. But like I said before, some people had the temerity to say, oh, that's outrageous. He'd be the richest man in the world many times over. And it's like, so what?
Good luck to him.
It's interesting. My financial advisor said, he sent me all this. He sends me all this FUD, you know, because he wanted me to sell, you know, to take profit, you know. So I said, no, don't be silly. And he said, look, he sent me a thing about, look, Elon Musk is, you know, he's been paid $2 million as a CEO, and you know, all his family are in on it, and you know, it's all rubbish. So, yeah, $2 million. I said, or yeah, you think it was even less than that, you know, some ridiculous.
Well, no. Elon Musk officially, because I believe in the state of California, all employees or certain employees must be paid what they call the minimum wage for that type of task, which is it 35,000 US dollars or 50,000 US dollars or something like that.
I don't know
what Elon Musk demands from Tesla, or has demanded from Tesla, is that be given to him in the form of a check, a paper check. And he has stated time in, time out, that he never cashes that check because he literally refuses to take income as payment.
Yeah, but he's a Lone Star resident now.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nigel. That's another piece
over
of
to
news.
Texas. Yep.
And no doubt, after Elon watches this, he is no doubt in Boca Chica, Texas, in anticipation of the Starship SN8 taking off tomorrow morning, our time.
Not the Enterprise, not the Starship Enterprise.
That will come later. That'll come later. But yeah, good scoop there, Nigel. That's absolutely right. But
yeah, he's saying that it's purely because Boca Chica and Austin are there, and that's where most of his work is. And it's got nothing at all to do with the fact that the state of California are holes.
Totally agree. Yes. And I think you're right there, Nigel, because look, to be honest, the Cybertruck is a big challenge because they made one prototype once, like the real bending the 30X stainless steel, which was hard. Cold rolled. 30X, which stands for
30 times rolled.
No, Pete. Sorry, it's the 30 is the nickel content. You can get 316. You can get, and it's a proportion of nickel to chromium to other things. And 30X refers to the X is like it's not specified what whatever it is, chromium or other content is, and it's a specific formula that Tesla and SpaceX have jointly developed, which is ultra hard. And impossible to stamp. You'll just break your conventional stamping machines. It doesn't matter about the tonnage. You just can't get this thing to yield. They have to literally score one side before they bend it, and that's why you'll see no metal curve on a Cybertruck because they can't do it. They have to do straight lines. But you know, Elon Musk famously was, when he went through production hell with the Model 3, and you know, we've all heard this. He was sleeping on a couch at Fremont on the line, and I think some Tesla Owners Club fans actually, I think, went and bought him a much superior couch and hand delivered it to Fremont.
Yeah, well, he's just been in Germany and he slept in the conference room at the Berlin Gigafactory.
See,
I do it at the hospital all the time. What's the big deal?
But isn't it awesome that as ridiculously wealthy as he actually is, although he's, to be honest, he's asset rich, filthy rich, but cash extremely poor. So he literally has to borrow money against his shareholding to pay the tax for any increase in.
He's got no income.
No, exactly, precisely, and he does that as he militantly says, I don't want income, I just want to benefit later. So it's quite heartening that someone
and he sold all his possessions as well.
Yes, he did.
And his houses and everything.
Yes, he's a homeless, multi-hundred billionaire.
Second richest person in the world.
Is it second, Pete?
Yeah, he's behind Bezos. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he overtook Bill Gates last week.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's amazing. You're sort of speechless because he's done that in a single generation over 25 years.
Well, he's come to America with $1,000 in his pocket.
Yes.
From South Africa, with him and his brother. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And don't forget, he's not just Tesla. He's not just the Boring Company. He's not just SpaceX. He's also Neuralink.
And OpenAI.
And Starlink. And Starlink.
Yeah, well, Starlink is, I guess you could lump that together with SpaceX, sort of. But any one of those achievements are enormous in isolation. And putting them all together is just incomparable to anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but he's still got his feet on the ground, that he still actually works. He's such a realist. I think that's the best part of it. There's no frills and that sort of thing. No big boardroom show things. He's so absolutely brilliant. I admire him greatly.
Yeah, and he works at least 16 hours a day.
Yeah, if not more.
And he's famous for upholding that theory of
no meeting
is a short. Any good meeting is a short meeting, and if you're in a meeting, it's impertinent for you to continue to be at that meeting unless you literally have something to benefit, or vice versa, from that meeting. It's impertinent for you to stay there and waste time. You should then just simply politely leave the meeting or whatever, just go and not waste time.
Well, his mantra is that
Go, Pete.
Yeah, no, I think Ashley Vance in his biography mentioned that Elon's view is that if you're in a meeting, it's rude to stay in the meeting unless you've got something to contribute or unless you're getting something out of that meeting. Yep. And if you leave the meeting halfway through, that's not rude. That's that's polite. Being respectful to other people's time. Yeah.
And I think that's a similar thing is that Bezos has, is the 2 pizza rule, that no meeting should be of a certain size that 2 pizzas can't feed all the participants.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put the boots into a certain Volkswagen company, but
why not?
31.
Was it 31? I think that
31.
According to that,
31. But if you look at the photo, you can count a lot more than that. So Rob actually mentioned that on his podcast too.
Yeah, but if they got 2 New Yorker pizzas from Domino's, it would have fed that many.
Actually, I'm going to show my age. And there was a company there's a pizza place called, I can't remember. It was in Dog Swamp, not the shopping center, but on the western side of Dog Swamp. Can't remember that. And they had a pizza called the Super Giant, and it was probably 80 centimeters square, and it was a square pizza. So they cut it in sort of squares, and me and a mate of mine did our very best to eat all of it, and it was really difficult. It was, yeah, it was massive, but you know. But yeah, good old Jeff Bezos, the two pizza rule. And VW, did we get any info what actually happened in the wash? I think they're still discussing it, aren't they, Pete?
Well, that was in April that they held that meeting, and it was Mission T. So the whole idea of that was how was VW going to catch Tesla in 4 years' time, and that was in April, so it was before battery day, and that goes to what pretty much most people in the know have been saying, that legacy auto is a good 4 years behind Tesla, but that was before battery day, and now it's, and look, VW, you could argue is probably the most advanced out of the major, you know, Toyota, etc., out of the major car manufacturers in terms of electrifying their fleet, and yeah, they're still 4 years behind back in April, and even further behind after battery day now.
So they aspire to be where Tesla is right now, but in 4 years.
4 years' time,
ignoring the fact that Tesla will be 4 years advanced,
if not more. Yeah,
if not more. Yeah, well, compared to VW, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Every day, Tesla's just walking a little bit further ahead, without a doubt. These legacy car makers aren't going to compete. Their bureaucratic approach is going to kill them.
Kathy Wood makes this point all the time, is that...
so where's Kathy Wood from, Pete?
Oh, it's from ARK Invest.
Yep, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been long supporters of Tesla, and their funds have done exceptionally well. It's by far their highest holding. So they've got about 6 ETFs. Yes, so she was saying, look, in our models, we've held Tesla's market share of EVs constant, or we've had it coming down slightly. But every year, Tesla actually has been doing the opposite. It's actually been increasing its market share in EVs. And
they famously had to sell down their holdings of Tesla shares, much to the entertainment of the short sellers, because they're trying to claim that, oh, ARK Invest aren't into Tesla anymore. They're selling down their holdings. But it's literally because they have an allowed percentage of Tesla they can hold. But because
any one holding
is appreciating so quickly, they have to sell down some to not violate their standards of maximum percentage of market capitalization.
In any one stock, yeah. But they also, ARK Invest has been pretty good from what I can gather, because they've actually been trading Tesla along the way as well. So, you know, when it was just doing nothing around that $200 to $300 level, they were just sort of waiting, you know, with their bids down low, and when it got sold off, they soaked up quite a lot. But yeah, they sold some obviously when it ran up as well. So
there's nothing
good
wrong
problem
with buying cheap and selling dear. Sorry, Pete. Chip, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's a good problem to have, isn't it, when you've got to sell them off?
Yep, because it's violating our governance. We're overweight Tesla because they're worth so much.
And it's interesting. Jim Chanos, the famous short seller, so who's probably, you know, been the most vocal in terms of shorting Tesla, he's had to famously buy Tesla back because it was too much exposure to any one stock. As well, the other way around. Yeah. So.
And the thing is, for all those people that are less acquainted with shares, if you're long a company, so in other words, you just simply buy shares and hold on to them, the worst you can do is lose the money you paid for them. In the extreme, if they become worth zero, the most you could lose is the money you put in. But if you
as long as you didn't leverage. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, absolutely, just cash into a share. Yeah. But if you short a share, you're basically borrowing that share from usually an institution and selling it right now on the basis that you promise either whenever they need it back or want it back, or at some later date, to replace that share that you've borrowed and already sold today. And you're doing that because you're expecting that the cost to give the share back is between not very much and zero, which is really cool if a company is failing and going broke. In fact, if it literally goes broke, you've got your money. The money you sold that share for is all yours, and you need to give the person you borrow the share from 0. But the problem is when you short sell is your potential losses, well, they're not actually infinite, but they're not bound because they're bound by the increase in share price. So if the share increases by 10 times, you've sold the shares, let's say for $1,000. But if it increases 10 times, you have to eventually give it back. And you've got to put in another 9 times that money just to get the share back, to give it back.
Yeah.
So
if you buy a share that's worth $1, the most you can lose is $1 a share, unless you're in derivatives or unless you've borrowed money. But if you short that $1 share and that share goes to $100, you've got to find $99. If it goes to $1,000, you've got to find $999. So, and theoretically.
Oh, sorry, Pete, we just lost you there for a sec.
You've gone mute.
Sorry, my alarm just came on my iPad. I apologise. So that overrode.
So you said theoretically, yeah, sorry, you just got cut out with the theoretically you could lose a lot of money.
Yeah, theoretically, yeah. I mean, if it goes to $1,000, you need to find another $999. If it goes to, $10,000, you got to find $9,999. So theoretically, there is your upside is, sorry, your downside is only limited to as high as the share price can go.
Yeah, somebody did say that if you're a billionaire, the quickest way to become a millionaire is to try and short Tesla.
Yes, that'd be right.
And I think all the short sellers have made the mistake that they've gone, well, Tesla's just a car company and they haven't hardly sold any cars. They might make 500,000 this year. It's way overpriced. It needs to dramatically come down because they're just a car company, but they're not.
Well, and it's becoming plainly obvious how silly that logic is now, because Tesla's worth more as far as its market cap is concerned than all the legacy, all the traditional car makers combined. So it's selling a fraction of the cars of VW or of Toyota, but it's worth more than VW, Toyota, GM, Ford, all PSA, so Peugeot, Renault, all the French car makers, all the Italian car makers. It's just plainly obvious that that's just a silly way to value the company.
Yeah, because they go, oh, it's only going to sell 500,000 now this year, or it's only sold 400,000 so far. I mean, that's hardly anything, but they're just not looking for 1 or 2 years down the track. Next year, that'll probably be 1 million, and the year after, it'll probably be 2 million. And if he uses that 5 billion to build another factory.
And I mean, Elon has said during Battery Day that the way to value Tesla is to have a look at the value of full self-driving, which is said before, once it's fully fledged and out there, level 4 or level 5, it's going to be worth $100,000 US, and then multiply that by the number of cars that they produce. So that's his theory as to how you should. That's his view as to how you should value Tesla. And but that's just the automotive component. And then he said that energy is going to be worth at least as much as the car side of things. So, yeah.
And which was the analyst, a high-profile analyst that valued Tesla on the 12-month or 24-month discounted cash flow rate strictly on their projected vehicle production? Was that?
Yeah.
I forget which.
Wasn't Morgan Stanley?
No,
I forget who the analyst was. I thought he might have been an analyst from Morgan Stanley, but I can't remember.
Yeah, but it was a mainstream analyst, and they just didn't bother to look any further because they said, well, all we can look at and see is the vehicle production figures or turnover, and that's it. That's as far.
And that's where Kathy from ARK Invest has been going so well, saying, yeah, but there's a lot more to it than that.
You look at Amazon, for example. I don't think Amazon have actually paid a dividend yet, ever. I think because they're a growth company, and they've been misunderstood because I used to be a quaint bookseller, And now they sell everything to the point where in America, there are entire shopping malls that are vacant and abandoned. And they've hollowed out an entire strata of business, like an entire category. And I think Tesla's, as Pete was saying, is very similar, but on even further multi-tiers.
And, then you've got insurance as well, which they've got a huge unfair advantage in the market. And there's all this sort of, then there's revenue streams, which perhaps might not be big in the scheme of things, but all these things add up. If you've got passengers in the car that's driving by itself and you've got one big screen, so you've got a real opportunity to entertain these people. You've got
What's the most valuable thing on this thing? Is it the hardware they sold for $1,800?
Of course not. It's the software. Of course, it's the app store.
They get 30% for every single purchase made through this device.
Correct.
Through an application, they get 30% of the cut for doing very little.
But what I'm trying to say is you've got that phone and you've got lots of other things competing for your attention. So if you're driving, you can't be looking at it. If you're watching TV, you've got the TV, you've got other people, etc. You're in the car, you're on your journey to work or what have you, you're stuck in traffic. So all you really have now is the phone and the big screen in front of you. So they've got your attention, they've got a captive audience that's bored. That's got to be, in terms of advertising, in terms of apps, that's just got to be, that's gold,
And how people, I remember I once bought a steering wheel and pedals for Bathurst, whatever, for a PC. You've got that in a real car.
Yeah.
So it's a gaming console.
Yeah.
It's.
I think there's I just one. I'm sorry. I actually listened to a YouTuber that actually was on an analyst who I actually thought was actually okay. I mean, Kathy's wonderful, my dream woman, and but he's actually quite a good. And anyway, he said, look, you've got to think that yes, it's a software company, but your original iPhone is in landfill now. It was the most fabulous thing around when it first came out. It's in landfill now. No one's got an original iPhone. These things evolve very, very rapidly, and and look, the other thing I wanted to say was the 30X. I've got a little thing here from Elon, quoted from Elon on Twitter back in July. So responding to Teslarati and Boca Chica Gal, he said, it's what Elon said, we're rapidly changing alloy constituents and forming methods. So traditional names like 304L, stainless steel, will become more of an approximation. They're not, so this is in place of the 30X. And someone asked, is that, I think he's talking about SpaceX there, but they said, what the alloy in Cybertruck, is that changing too? And that was his confirmation. So it's actually 304L. The 304L is 18% chromium, 8% nickel, and it's just and a maximum carbon of 0.03%, which differentiates that from 304. But it says easier to form and to weld and great resistance to corrosion. It just doesn't quite sound like the same ultra hard things.
No.
I don't know. That's what Elon was quoted as saying in July. So things may have changed. So.
And going forward from that theme, another great achievement of Tesla and probably the material scientists of SpaceX, because again they have a bit of cross-pollination, is in the unified rear casting for the Model Y. They've developed their own unique formula for their die casting aluminium, so that it doesn't need subsequent heat treatment, which is unheard of. Because Elon, I think it was in an interview that involved Sandy Munro and someone else that was facilitating the conversation. I think it was the Third Row, perhaps possibly, Third Row Tesla or whatever they're called. He basically said that the problem with large castings is you cast it, you can do it precise, it's all good. You then go and heat treat it, and it doesn't matter what you do and how you do it, it's going to warp or bend in some way, even slightly. And then you need to do some final finishing of fiducial marks and whatever. But what Tesla's doing with their GigaPress is they are pressing an item, and I think it was 40 milliseconds it takes for X number of dozens of kilograms of die-cast aluminium alloy material to enter a high vacuum mold. But it doesn't actually need any finishing whatsoever. What comes out of that mold is it goes straight onto the line and it's put in the car and it's precise. And that is literally unheard of in any production of that size or even near that size. So that just goes to show because the great thing about Elon Musk is I think a lot of it is he asks questions. And one of his main questions is, what are the limits of physics to make it go faster, quicker, cheaper, stronger, lighter, and everything else? He says, well, what's the maximum goodness this thing can have? And he asks the question, and then his people go back after, shitting themselves and going, well, we think it's this. And he goes, well, let's aim for that. And let's just make that. Let's just make a machine that can do that. Let's build a rocket that we can land back on its own tail. But you can't do that. Well, why not? Physics says you probably can.
Doesn't accept the given. He looks back at starting again. He doesn't accept like the traditional way to make a car. He just, well, is that the best way? No. So we'll do it this way. He throws the rule book out the window, and it's got to be efficient. It's got to be the ultimate way to do it. And he's just a genius in that respect. But I think given his background in physics, he's got the knowledge to ask the right questions. He's obviously very clever in first principles. And that's what he always refers back to, which is just brilliant.
And the question is, what's the best, hardest, fastest, strongest, lightest thing we can do? Not do what we've always done. The Boring Company, he famously says, all he wants his boring machine to do is be as fast as a snail. And sort of people laugh and go, well, snails are really slow. But you know what? You get a snail in the right direction and it can probably do a meter in 20 minutes. I don't know. I haven't tried.
He did say what the speed was, but yeah, it's if he can get to a speed of a snail, he's very successful.
Yes.
That's why it's called the Boring Company.
But he uses it that comes out. He doesn't throw it out the backyard. He makes bricks and everything else with it. So he's using all the waste as well. And that's an achievement in itself.
A garden snail speed is 0.047 kilometres per hour.
And you know what? That'll get to Sydney in how many hours, Peter? That's about 3,500 k's.
If you're hypermiling,
hypermiling snail. Well, he'd have to move back to front. He'd have to use the shell, its own shell.
Yes, push the shell into the dirt.
That's
it's awesome. It's just, you see some of those metrics and it's just inconceivable that one person can be the architect of all that. And make no mistake, he was the lead engineer, rocket scientist for SpaceX, because he actually said in the biography that, well, there was no one else that could do it. So he just did it. It's amazing.
He just read every book he could find on rocketry.
Okay.
Yeah, amazing.
That was after come back and land on their tail. No one thought that was just a dream. I believe it was inconceivable.
This is just Jane saying, hi, Harold.
Hi, Jane. Good to see you.
Yeah,
safe travels.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good. I'm heading up to Crown tomorrow, so.
Awesome. I've got to admit, I've left the charger at the Ritz-Carlton overnight in the capable hands of the valet gentleman.
Oh, okay.
It's cool. So if you're going past the Ritz, you can just say hello to the fast DC charger as we go past.
I will.
I'll be collecting that tomorrow. And just a quick note for Damon, who's watching later, and Elon, who's watching right now. Jane actually saw the charger at random. She didn't know it was there. Peter and Jane went to the harbour just to have a look, and they happened to see the charger just hanging around.
Yeah. Which my wife with her sharp eyes and sharper wit. Oh, sorry. No. I think I was told you sharper tongue, didn't I, before? But anyway, sharper.
Nice.
But suffice to say, we are going to plan longer trips. I think the next trip, because it's coming up to summer, would probably logically be better to be down south. Which for you, Pete and Jane, is going to be a doddle because you're already halfway there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're going to do something like that. Perhaps an Esperance jaunt or something.
Try again. We'll get the dog looked after by somebody else.
Absolutely. Hopefully so. Yes, indeed. But we're going to have more casual meetup, not casual meetups, proper events, multi-day events.
Oh.
And obviously the awesome thing will be eventually we're going to plan a trip to Kununurra.
No, I want to get to Eucla.
Peter, with John Edwards's good grace, that will happen.
Yes, he's
That
pretty
will
good.
happen. Because he will get his waste vegetable oil generators, and he'll put them at the 2 or 3 roadhouses to Eucla, and
Yeah,
then
probably
challenge the South Australians to stop eating crow and start putting charges.
It'd be fabulous to see. Nothing would be better than making that an easy jaunt both ways across, because just imagine the tourism with Teslas coming across. It'd be brilliant to see.
Yes, yes. And to go across to Darwin and even to Townsville is not hard, as we know. There's Timber Creek, Catherine, you've got Darwin, that's easy. Tennant Creek and Camberwell, Barclay Homestead, and a couple of others, and it's job done. Easy peasy.
They're easy in my van, but they're a bit harder in the Tesla. So,
Yes, they are, but they're doable, and you can do it.
Not everybody is going off to bed.
All right,
Weekend ahead.
cool. Good night, Jane. Take care.
Didn't you have something booked? I think Ken said something about a meet in middle of January or something like that.
Oh yes, to the Gingin Gravity Observatory. Thanks, Nigel. I haven't got
Gravity
round-
Discovery Centre.
Yes, I haven't got round to emailing that out yet.
I've actually been. I was up there. I went up there on the way up because I've got a number of displays. So I actually had 3 displays up there. One of them's gone. Another one's sort of defunct. But the main one is a levitating magnet, which sort of sits underneath a dome. It's got a it runs on a few hundred watts and so on with sort of custom electronics, and it's just a magnet which is sort of in the air, and you can spin it. You can do all sorts of things. If you pull the magnet away, it goes. So people don't tend to pinch it,
Yes.
and a lot of things like that. So it's just been there for years and years. It's pretty easy 10 years. I mean, I think it did some electronics in one stage, but basically it's been surprisingly reliable. It's got lots of spider webs inside it now. It didn't have before, but yeah. So I've got 3 displays there, and I sort of David Blair was the professor that was doing all that, and I sort of I did a year of physics back. God knows how many, 40 years ago or something. And so I've had an attachment to the physics department, and we did a year of physics only and medicine after that. But now, over the last 10 years, I sort of had an attachment with the physics department, such that I do their expo display out the front. And so I've got, and the Gravity Discovery Centre was part of that, so I made displays for them.
The awesome thing about that centre is that Professor Blair, he was always looking for gravity waves, and he had a neodymium YAG bar that he thought, and he put it in a high vacuum, he suspend it, try and isolate out all of the vibrations, and he thought you could use it like a tuning fork. And as a gravity wave went through, you might be able to detect it making this bell sort of ring, or like a rod.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as it turns out, he was probably several orders of magnitude out in sensitivity, so it couldn't work. But he tried his heart out. His son is actually involved in, and in fact, the Gravity Centre, I believe, is intimately involved with the 2 LIGO projects that actually discovered Einstein's predicted gravity waves some years ago. And I believe they actually take some of the instruments to the gravity center and they actually calibrate them there on a miniature version of the LIGO reflective interferometer. And the great thing is, a little bit like Elon Musk, it's like this little train that could. Professor Blair just kept on pushing at it. He knew what he wanted to get as a result. All his experiments didn't work, but he was on the right track. And then, well, actually, I take that back. He then pivoted and realized that you can't do it with a physical object as a single unit. You need an interferometer over a very long distance. And just getting very quickly on an aside, this interferometer can detect the movement of two mirrors to much, much less than the fraction of a single proton. That's not an atom. That's the little bit that's inside with the electrons around it.
About 1/100th of a proton diameter. And the other thing, another little anecdote is that his son was actually working at LIGO, and
in the States.
Was actually picked up their first discovery. Remarkably, it's a huge, and these things are incredibly powerful. The whole universe is energy. It's like that one was like 2 suns or 3 suns worth of E equals mc squared energy just gone basically into a gravity wave.
A fraction of a second when 2 black holes, and I think it was it
30 and 50.
Was it 4 or so billion years ago? And this wave was propagating at the speed of light towards us.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that these puny humans finally turned on this equipment, and it was literally only a couple of days before the wave arrived, and they deliberately injected false signals to test to make sure it was okay and calibrate it. And their first response was, "Oh, yeah, I'm pretty relaxed because it's obviously one of the tests to make sure we're on our toes." And then they rang each other up and said, "Oh yeah, that's a good test, you know, blah, blah, blah." And the guy goes, "We weren't testing it." It's like, "What do you mean?" "Well, we weren't doing an injection test. It's whatever the signal is real." And it's like, "You're joking." And they discovered it. 2 black holes merging.
Yeah.
And as Peter said, you know, many suns worth of E equals mc squared, which is kind of unheard of and unfathomable, 4 billion or so years ago, propagated all the way to our civilization within days of it effectively being turned on, and discovered it. And since they've discovered many, and it's all old hat now, and now they're trying to have multiple units.
Discovered a bigger one now, just a little while ago. And I remember I was at a lecture by Professor Cox, but Brian Cox is a physicist, you know, sort of some media fame. And
Peter, who is he the bass guitarist of?
I don't know.
Come on.
No, I don't.
D Ream. D Ream.
Oh, dear. Thank you for that bit of information. But,
and I can't even play it because YouTube will probably demonetize us. Not that we're actually flush with funds anyway, but we can't even afford to play it.
Absolutely not. But anyway, David Blair's son, when they made this discovery, you know, just after day or days or something after they turned it on, he was asleep.
So he missed it.
He missed it.
Oh.
So
he only had one job to do.
Yeah,
observe the gravity wave. Come on.
Well, I think there are a few other people there as well, but yeah, they're actually phenomenal. They say they outshine the universe because they're just converting so much, you know,
matter to energy. Yeah.
Half a second. You know, you've got 2 black holes circling each other at half the speed of light. You know, and it's just the incredible sort of amount of energy. So yeah.
And the funny thing is that someone that wrote a paper in the early 1900s, his equations predicted this, and 110 odd years later, it gets proven completely accurate to the X number of decimal places. That is perfect.
Yeah, the good fun things to play with. So I actually made it for the physics department as one of their displays just after the black holes are discovered. I got some ferrofluid, and I wrote 2 magnets under which I sort of spun them, and they would attract the ferrofluid and create this circular wave pattern coming out for these 2 rotating things. It's sort of, it was sort of slightly underwhelming, but the principle was all there, and it's demonstrated it nicely. So
the ferrofluid just quickly, because it's getting a bit late, so we'll probably end it fairly soon. But the ferrofluid is what Tangi at Greenbushes lithium mine used to extract the spodumene, because with the ferrofluid and magnets and agitation, they can effectively adjust the relative density of the fluid that's holding the material, so they can tune it so that the unwanted material either floats or sinks, and the wanted material either floats or sinks or floats. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Cool. Well, I think maybe unless we've got anything other pressing news or any other comments, it might be a great time to wrap this awesome session up, which has had heaps of news. We've had heaps of activity. I can speak for myself, and I'm going to dare to speak for Pete Petrosky to say the two of us are rather tired, and we've had a big week, but it's been fantastic. And Seb and Joe, obviously you'll understand that it's been a long week, but a great one.
Really had lots of driving, but it was worth it.
It was, and you know, I can only promise you that there'll be more of that in the future, and it will be even more awesome. And we'll just keep plodding along, doing what we do. And I dare say we do it fairly well, and we're going to keep doing it well. So on that note, I hope everyone in YouTube land likes, subscribes, and clicks the notification button. And
sends his money on Patreon.
Patreon.
Yeah. I've set up the page so I get all the money, but don't worry about that.
Right. Okay. That's extraordinarily generous of you, Nigel. And I'll be sure to come around your place to see how things are going.
I'll be buying Tesla shares with it, and then everybody can have a Roadster.
I'm going to take that as a deal.
Well, I've got to get the money first.
Nigel, that's just details, mate. It'll be all right. Don't you worry about that. So on that note, I hope everyone looks after themselves, and I honestly look forward to seeing all of you wonderful people next week. And yeah, please take care. And thanks for being on Ask Us Anything.
Thank you, Harold. And thanks for organising everything.
Yep. See you guys.
Take care. See ya.
Thanks, guys. See ya.